Happy Sunday, folks. Hope everyone had a good 4th of July in the States and all that, and everyone's having a good time. Alec Bourne from the Midi Mad Scientist Club and the TC Electronics Plethora Club and creator of the Strymon Iridium Club. And today I have a request for help from the hive minds of all these groups for which I contribute. So, let me explain this. I hope this comes out the right way around. What I've been doing is basically working with a big Helix floor now, gone all the way up, and trying to work out signal readings. And this is not my thing. I'm the MIDI guy. I get the stuff to talk to one another, and I can do that no problem. It can be done. Here's the big quest and the thing that I'm going to need help with. So I'm going to switch the camera around now, stitch this all together, post this on my YouTube channel, like and subscribe and all that stuff, blah blah, because I need to get up to 1,000 members so I can start streaming stuff, because I hate having to edit videos. So the big question coming up is this. I'm a massive fan of the HXSTOMP because I travel a lot, and so I've tried to shrink down, honey, I shrunk the kids. I'm trying to shrink down the power of a big Helix floor into multiple little pedals. So taking a stomp, and instead of using just the stomp, I'm trying to expand that now into doing other things. Now, the deal with this was, alright, let me switch this thing over. Hang tight. Okay, we're back. So this is the idea. El Stompy Stomp here is great on its own, but super capable. Dual inputs, dual outputs, dual paths, and capable of massive stuff and a lot of control with MIDI. The MIDI, forget about it. So what I like to think of this is a block of DSP, another block of DSP, another block of DSP, and another block of DSP. What I'm trying to do here is use the HXSTOMP as an exotic amp and drive unit, because I don't have any drives. So the stomp needs to drive, and it needs to run one exotic amp. I'm trying to go with a dual amp setup. Alex Price, Alex Trabala, Steve Sterlacci, all you guys have inspired me to try and hook up dual sound. So I always play in stereo for the most part. Not necessarily all the time, but that's what I like. So job number one was to get the Iridium, as this holds your classic amps, so Fender, Vox, and Marshall, and up to 9 IRs in there, and that can all be MIDI controlled, and the drives can all be MIDI arranged, so that can do some stuff. So take path B as the classic. That's going to handle that. And I like to think of this as sort of a power cab plus, with those dual stunk-in IRs that you can load this in and switch and change and do stuff on the fly. So that's going to handle some sounds. Stereo in if you want, or mono in, and stereo out if you want, or mono out. So that can do a lot of stuff. This big boy is going to eventually have to have everything come back into it, because I'm not using any DIs or anything like that. This is the brain. And if I want to record, I'm going to use an external looper with the iPad that we're now filming on. So I can get all of those sounds registered, saved, reamped, blah blah blah. That's all understood, I think. Now, this beastie, the TC Electronics, came in because of the mash features. You can do up to 128 boards with it. This has stereo in, stereo out, but only a mono loop. So you could take these 5 pedals and split them. Like right now I've got the first 3 pedals before the send, the after the return. So you could, I would think, in mono, send in, go through 3 of these, send this out. So I could use these, I could use the modulation effects that this has, flanges, vibratos, choruses, octavers, really good polyphonic stuff already, you know, whilst we're waiting for 3 to come out. Reverbs for days, delays for days. This thing does great stuff. It's really cool. And it's more manual, so I'm getting out of my Midi thing and into touching the boards and doing stuff, which is cool. So this is what I need help with. What would you advise? What would be the craziest, the wildest signal path that one could put together with all this stuff? Let me throw another thing in the loop. This beast, the SIM1, aside from being a guitar profiler, so this takes over the Variax functionality or augments it, but this beastie also has IRs and also has 1 or 2 basic amps and a basic overdrive and a basic reverb. So that could also be thrown in the mix, but I'm not too bothered with that. I just mainly use it for guitar modulation. So I can go from, with one guitar, this can be anything. Also acoustics, also, you know, anything. So that gives the sound going in. God, wouldn't be one of my vids without that happening. So what would you do here with this thing? Currently I'm running into the Plethora, going out using this for an amp. You've got dual pass and all kinds of stuff you can do up, dual split blocks. You can do the dynamic split. There's a lot of cool things you can do. So function wise, I'm looking to get as many sounds as possible and utilize both snapshots and the Plethora to cover those sounds, or maybe even send it through here. I'm basically looking to have the ability to start playing and change presets from here and here or here on the go, and where you're getting the DSP drop as it's reloading the presets in time by time. I want one of these things to cover that with massive delays and swirls. So it's a lot of rooting power that one could do with this, and one of them is going to have to stay fixed, I would think. As this is at the end of the signal chain, I would think I would use just a simple delay or ping pong or something in stereo to mask and cover the sound. I've got that working. That's cool. So what do you think? Could this do an exotic amp? So anything that's not a Fender, Fox, or Marshall, that's going to do that. It's going to do drives, and it may do 1 reverb in the end. 6 to 8 blocks in the coming year. This thing's going to handle all the mishmashy stuff, flangering, reverbing, everything. It's doing a bunch of stuff. This is also getting a looper at the end of summer. And other vibratos, other stuff, other 2 or 3 pedals, hopefully. So that's the quest, people. You guys know this stuff way better than I do. Help. What would you do? What would be the craziest thing? Jamie Trevino, get your thinking caps on, boys. Help me out here. Over yonder, I've got my boards ripped to shreds. I've got the mission stuff in there, so most of this stuff is all going to be powered. Basic custom amp, all the other guitars over there in the corner. And I'm usually running this into stereo speakers, so help a brother out. What would you do in this case? What would be the maddest, the coolest, the most indestructible, super mega preset that you could build, merging all that DSP together? in the TC Electronics group, Chad's group, and this is all your fault, Chad, for putting me onto this thing. What would you do, guys? Just get some Helix mindsets in here and give me some super routing advice, Mr. Sterlacci, Mr. Johnny Lee, all of you boys, Chad included. What could you do with this thing? Could it beat the big Helix floor? And for bonus points, once that's built, why not merge that with a Helix floor and have, I mean, how much DSP is that? That's like two Helixes together, working together, doing crazy stuff. So forget about, you know, the tones and all that stuff like that. Rooting. We can talk about tones later, but what if you wanted to do a mega acoustic set with this and then dive into electrics? That's what I'm talking about. I want this thing to sing and dance and dive. The MIDI stuff I can all work out, so it'll switch on the go as you're going. But, you know, for Steven Toback, all you boys, we have some crazy ideas floating around. So this time, help me out. What would you do?